So in this video, I'd like to show you how to compute the sample mean from grouped frequency data. So here's the formula for the sample mean that we saw in class. And if we look at this collection of grouped frequency data, we can see that the heights in certain ranges are given, and the frequency with which that height was observed is given in another column. So for example, there were two values between 63 and 65. To do this in Excel, we're going to create a column where first we put in X values. These are the values from our data. And for the first group, we would put in the midpoint. So in this case, it would be 64, followed by 67, 70, 73, and 76. In the next column, we put in the frequency. So for us, that would be 2, 4, 8, 5, 2. Now, because we want to use this formula for the sample mean, what we'd like to do is add 64 plus 64, because there's two of those, plus 67 plus 67 plus 67 plus 67, since there's four of those. And then we're going to add 70 to that total 8 times, and then 73 5 times. As you can see, this is getting a little bit cumbersome. And so what we're going to do is take advantage of the fact that we know how to do repeated addition. 64 added to itself twice would be 64 times 2. So in this third column, we're going to write x times f, and it's going to equal, so I hit the equal sign, and then I can select 64, shift 8 gives me the multiplication asterisk, and then B2, or the frequency here, which is 2. Another way I could enter this is to type in A2 times B2, and yet a third way would be to use the cursor. Once I've hit that equal sign, I can use the cursor to move around, and I can select A2, and then the cursor starts again, and I can select B2. Because I've already entered in data and Excel knows the height of my table, if I go to the bottom right corner of this cell and double click, notice how it's got a dark square there. I can double click and it will copy that data down. So as you can see, it's updating these entries accordingly. Now, because ultimately I wanted to add all of the values together, and this, for instance, just has two 64s, I then want to add all of these values in column C. So I'll hit equals sum. I can either type in the parenthesis. Also, I could hit the tab key. And finally, I can actually double click this sum and it'll enter. I now need to select the data I'm interested in, so I can do that with my cursor, click and drag, or once again I can use the keypad and hold down the shift key to select my data. So in this case, I want to select that. So the sum of all the values is 1473, and that takes care of the numerator. For the denominator, I want to know how many data points I have. Well, this indicates that I have two 64s and four 67s, so the sum of this data gives me n. Therefore, the mean can be computed as follows. I take the total sum and divide that by n. So my mean is 70.14286.